Good evening, televiewers. You're welcome to Prime Hour on My Media Prime. Today, Wednesday, we are going to be looking. We are going to be looking at two topics, which has to do with the declared lockdown for the Southwest and Northwest region for 2 weeks by some quarters of the separatist movement. Understanding that the Sako faction says that there should be a lockdown. Meanwhile, the Ayabacho faction says that lockdown should not be imposed on the population, as well as the faction of Ayuk Tabi, who think that it is bringing untold suffering on the population, and that there was no clear justification to impose a 2 weeks lockdown on the people of the Southwest and Northwest region. We also are going to be looking at an article carried by the Guardian Post newspaper asking whether it was time to rethink strategy in the ongoing crisis in the Northwest and Southwest regions. We are discussing this with our panelists who are seated already in our studios. With me, I have Senior Barrister Ashu Emmanuel. He is the National President of the Reform Party. Good evening and welcome.
Good evening, Mr. Leo. Good evening, televiewers. Good evening, Akwen. Prof. Makantoni. Good evening, all the panelists. Reform Party is waxing very, very strong. I have the pleasure to announce that in the East, we just registered we just admitted the militants of 5 political parties who all resigned on Marx and joined Reform Party. We'll be bringing them here before the end of the month so that you see them yourselves. And at June also we registered 4 CPDM bigwigs who also resigned and joined us. So no, we shall bring them all here before the end of the month. You have to talk to them. So we are waxing very, very strong, and I think that we are going to have a very nice debate this evening.
We're also in the company of Professor Mark Anthony. He is a Panafricanist. Good evening and welcome.
Thank you, Leo. Good evening to my fellow panelists and to the people of Cameroon, Northwest and Southwest region watching at me right now, and to the rest of Africans and those in the diaspora. I think this particular topic of discussion today is something that is heavy in some of us our hearts, where we are actually coming to sit and talk about issues that we're not supposed to be discussing about, where people are being subjected to unnecessary pain when they were supposed to be looking for ways to curb their suffering. Rather, they are increasing more of it in the name of ghost towns.
Okay, Lucas Nji is also here with us. He is a member of the civil society. Good evening and welcome.
Good evening, Mr. Leo. It's a pleasure to be on the panel once more, especially with Ma Akwen. You know, I always address women Ma. I think my mom had taught me that quite much. And Professor Mark Anthony, it's a pleasure to be here with Senior Barrister Ashu. It's indeed things which we cannot hold it back, like Professor Mark Anthony said. I think it is time for us to call the spade a spade. Our people cannot continue in such suffering when they did not actually buy the idea. I think all what we need to do is to keep saying what is right. And it is also going to be registered in the annals of history of Cameroon that we too had a part to tell the world that what is happening is not good, but what is actually happening on our people is not what they indeed went in for.
Okay, we also are in the company of Akwen Nadieh. She is the youth president for the UPC party. Don't know whether another cap was given to you, the spokesperson for the party. Good evening, welcome.
Good evening to you, Mr. Leo. Thanks for the invitation. Good evening to all my co-panelists. Good evening to all the televiewers of this prestigious platform. Good evening to all the UPC members who are scattered around the continental globe. Good evening to all the youths of the youth wing of my party. You know, Mr. Leo, our party is a nationalist party, you know, and we have as a tradition to always, you know, elect our leaders through congresses. And we just had our 8th congress. It was in Yaoundé at Palais de Congrès on the 11th and 12th of September 2020. You know, Mr. Leyo, I want to talk a bit about my party because the UPC has been known for a party of division. The UPC has been known for a party that, you know, it accompanies other political parties. But we just had a new revolution in our party, and it happened in Yaoundé. Now we have brought out a group of people that will lead the party, because it is a tradition in our party to always elect our leaders through congresses, and we just organized the 8th Congress. And in that Congress, I became the spokeswoman or the spokesman of that party. And we had Dr. Balegekot, who was re-elected for the 2nd mandate as the Secretary General of our party. You know, our statutes state that the Secretary General holds the ultimate power to lead, and by his side we had also Honorable Zunin. He is an ex-MP of the nation from the UPC political party. He was very young when he became an MP at the age of 37 years old. So I just want to call the general public to come and join us, because, you know, the UPC party is coming out. You know, we are the people that fought for independence and the reunification of the two Cameroons. Okay. So today we are trying to tell people that are still watching that the UPC is no longer that same UPC that they used to know. So they should come and join us so that we can move Cameroon forward. Okay,
things are changing in the UPC. Senior barrister, the people of the Southwest and Northwest are actually confused as we speak, because they don't know who is calling the shots. They don't know where to go to, because we have different opinions from those who seemingly are calling the shots for lockdown. Ayabacho says no lockdown. Ayuktabe's faction through Yerima says no lockdown. Sako say lockdown. The people don't really know what's happening.
Mr. Leo, I think I'll hold a contrary view, because we have seen this before. At one time, some people got up to say no more ghost towns, and others said the ghost towns have to continue. So I think this is an opportunity for the people to know who is actually controlling Ground Zero. Because, like in the case of ghost towns, the IG of Dr. Sako stood firm, and we saw that they are the ones who prevailed. Now, they have always been saying that Ayuktabe has nobody on the ground, that Ayabacho has nobody on the ground. So it's an opportunity for us to see whether it is Ayuktabe through W. Yerima, or is Ayabacho who is going to carry the day by saying that no lockdown. But from what we are seeing, it looks like there is some semblance of lockdown. So let us see how it goes. I think that this is an opportunity for us to know who is actually in control.
Yeah, but then even if Ayabacho said there was lockdown and Sako said there was no lockdown, the mere fact that
Sako says there's lockdown. Ayabacho says there is no lockdown.
Let us assume that Ayabacho had called for a lockdown and Sako says no lockdown. Do you think people will still have...
Thank you.
When you know that almost everybody is afraid.
Thank you, sir. I am saying that this is an opportunity for us to really know who is in control, who is pulling the shots, because media war is different from the actual war on the ground. Dr. Sako has always been saying that he is the one who controls the ground. So let us see this one. Let us look at this one and see whether his word is the one that is going to prevail, or the word of Ayabacho will prevail. Because the Sako faction says we are living a crucial moment, because the Republic of Cameroon has recruited Nigeria as a reinforcement at the UN General Assembly that is about to hold. They are going to present falsified facts. So we need this lockdown to enable the diplomatic services in Yaoundé make a report to their various countries to tell them what is actually happening on Ground Zero.
Is it to say that these nations are not aware of what is happening in Cameroon?
I don't know what they intend to stage, but listening to Dr. Sako, that's what I heard. He said they want the UN to have the actual image of what is happening. And they will be calling on the various countries to ask their representations in Yaoundé, their diplomatic representation, to report daily or weekly as to the real events, and not listen to the government of Cameroon or Nigeria. Because they feel that these two governments are going to misrepresent facts saying that.
That is what Sako is saying.
Yes,
but that's not what Ayabacho
excuse me. Sako is saying that the UN seems to be minded to intervene in Cameroon by overseeing negotiations. And the Cameroon government doesn't want that. They are going to put a language to say that all is normal, we are in control, there's no need for negotiations. So they are saying that by ordering the lockdown, they will make the UN understand that the government of Cameroon is not in control, that they are instead the ones controlling.
Okay.
And that will now prompt the UN to see the need for negotiations that are organized at the international level. That's the argument.
Yeah, but we've seen previous ghost towns that still did not move the UN to come in.
Leo, that's where I have a problem with all this idea of we want to stage this and that so that the UN should do this and that. Struggling to attract the international community has been in vain for close to 4 to 5 years today. And so I think we should begin by looking at the state of the people. What are the people going through right now? Because that is what matters the most. We do not care what they want. What are the people on the ground saying? Do they ask opinions of those people, the mothers and children out there, of what should happen? It is true we are going to say that there is need for leadership too, but a leadership that is not on the ground is not effective. Leo, if we have to look at things critically, I will show you that this is not a fight for the people anymore. This is not a fight for the people, because you will not hear the FACO, the SACO faction says that we need a close the lockdown, goes down for 2 weeks. The other man, Ayabacho says no, we do not want it. Yerima stands there and says no, we do not want it. If there is a ghost town, what is the reason why there is a ghost town out there? The truth to be told is that the people are afraid. Why? We can't imagine that they said there will be ghost town on the 15th. And this boy went killing people on the 14th. The boss that was shot and the girl that was killed was yesterday, when the ghost town was to start today. That was already to put fear into the hearts of the people. The cut fingers of children yesterday and the ears of children yesterday when ghost town was to start today. What do you imply by that? That is to inflict fear. And so it is, the people are not going out because of fear. It's not because of the command. Because if they have to follow the command, nobody want to sit at home for 2 weeks. Do you give me food to eat? And so some of us, we have taken this issue, we have been talking jokishly for a very long period of time. But we need to be sincere. This issue is not helping. It is destroying our people. Who is benefiting from this? Is it the people of the southern Cameroons? The people of Northwest and Southwest are not benefiting from all this rubbish. You see, more children are running into the south, the French-speaking section of Cameroon every day. Why? Because individuals have decided to create disorder. I believe that even if we want to stop or want to pass a message, there are other strategies to pass this message. And if they think that ghost town is the only way, it is no more effective. It is causing the people to suffer. I mean what I'm saying. The people are suffering.
Okay.
And we cannot keep on with one strategy that will afflict our own people in the name of struggling to gain independence.
Okay. Yes, your take on this call.
I think what is happening on the ground is it's resulting from poor coordination. If we had the right persons to coordinate this, the fact is that there is crisis in the Northwest and Southwest. We have the separatists, no doubt. But I want to speak on the standpoint of the civil society, because what the separatists are doing, it is indeed the violation of the people's right to movement. and the violation of their economic right. But they tend not to see this as something that is destroying the same people. Now, with regards to the lockdown and the period, yes, we know for sure in 2017, it was rumored that the UN was going to come to Buea. We saw how so many young people left their homes. They were marching to go to Bongo Square, thinking that the UN is coming there to hoist their flag.
When Antonio Guterres came visiting?
Antonio Guterres at the time had not even come to Buea. The President Paul Biya was about to give his own address at the UN.
Yes.
So the whole information was like, okay, today the president is going to be talking, so we should come out, let the UN see, let the world see that we are suffering. I think by then it was still the normal peaceful demonstration. We saw the multitude. They came out from their consent. They did not come out because they were under any pressure or fear. But what is happening today is that the days which are given to the people to stay at home is being imposed on them. And what we need to know is that the United Nations organization has every fact regarding what is happening in Cameroon. As much as we may be thinking that these persons do not have representatives on the ground, they really do, because civil societies are writing to these people every single second. I think it is the reason why some ministries in Cameroon have issues with some civil society organizations on the ground, because they think they are giving certain facts which they are not supposed to be giving to these people. So if I were to be speaking to these people, I would tell them that because of the fact that they are poorly coordinating their affairs, they are losing their popularity by the day. It may get to a point where these persons will not want to be engulfed by fear anymore, and they too may want to break that chain. Let me just share with them a little. When the Palestinian Liberation Movement decided to go in for their independence, Yasser Arafat at the time was in Egypt, but the coordination on the ground was so good to the extent that everybody was following it. Once you have different fractions in every conflict, in every fight, it is going to inflict pain on the people. So the actors on the ground may not want to see it this way, but this is what is happening. And so when it is happening like that, it doesn't speak well of them. Because if you are fighting for somebody, that person needs to be protected. A few minutes ago, Mark Barakta was saying that, okay, this is the situation now. We said we are not going to inflict pain again on our people. But nobody is listening to him, because they have let loose that, let me just borrow from the word of the Interior Minister of France in 2018, when he said, the Yellow Vest protesters are like something which somebody has created and let it loose and can no longer be controlled by him. We are getting all of this because a particular person was created in 2016. They translated this person to an armed carrier by 2017, and today they can no longer control the person. That's why people like the Ayok Tabe, yes, people like the Sako, people like the Cho Ayaba, they can no longer control the boys on the ground. So there is a problem, and if it continues like this, it could take us for more years. And this is where even the UN will not see reasons with them, because they know that it will be difficult to discuss with these people. This is a similar picture with the guys in Yemen. The Hutu rebels are there. You have another rebel group which is there. And so they hinder the flow of food and humanitarian aid into Yemen. So when it is happening like this, the UN itself will rather sit and observe, because as it stands, if the report coming from their representatives on the ground do not get to their table, it is not how much we inflict pain on ourselves we give them reason to listen to us, because they don't take it directly from us. They have persons on the ground. So what is good is that we should rather forget about these things. Yes, we know the traditional Monday goes down, which I think it has become part of us now. You cannot deny that. That is why if you follow the people and the argument on social media, you will realize that when it comes to Monday, they have no issue with Mondays. But when it comes to certain lockdown days, they have issue with it, because they know for sure that they are in support. Monday, the people are in support. That's why they are quick to say it was the people who decided to give this day Country Sunday. It was not the Sako fraction or the Ayok Tabe faction. It was given from ground zero, that Country Sunday. That is to tell you that The people have a certain level of support they are giving in with this.
Okay.
But once they start taking these people's support for granted, it becomes difficult.
Nadieh, your first take on what is happening.
Well, Mr. Lee, looking at the situation, I think that it is a game of credibility, because the both parties are trying to gain credibility in the eyes of them, of public opinion, and to me, at the detriment of the poor population who are on the ground. We see that these things has been happening for long, because before we had when the MPs of Cameroon wrote to the U.S. Congress telling them how everything is stable, we saw how a group of the separatist fighters still came and denied this issue, and it is still the same thing today, because we see how the UN is trying to hold its National Assembly, and now we are seeing that it's General Assembly, and now we are seeing that the other party who has done something fast, like the Cameroon government, they were the first people to write to the United Nations telling them that everything has come to normalcy in Cameroon.
But the Cameroon government is part of the UN.
It's part of the UN, and they have already forwarded their report. Okay. And if they didn't forward their report, the separatist fighters would have been gesticulating, telling us about a 16-day lockdown.
What does that report say?
The report tells us about the normalcy that is in Cameroon right now, in the northwest and southwest regions. They told us about everything, children are going to school and all that. To me, the report is not really wrong, okay?
I would love to see that report. Yeah.
Yes, the report is not really wrong, because, we are having children who have started school in the northwest and southwest regions. We have still seen that, activities became like, everything was fine. That is why you see that the separatist fighters are trying to gain credibility in the eyes of the public opinion, telling them that what we are saying is that normalcy has not come to this zone, so you need to intervene. So it is a game of credibility at the detriment of the poor Cameroonians who are suffering, because it is not normal for them to impose. Because right now, Mr. Kum, we are telling the people that Cameroon is a state of dictatorship. They are the people telling them that they want to liberate the Amazonian territory, as they call it. But at the same time, they are practicing dictatorship too, because you cannot tell us that you do not come and discuss with your people, telling them that what do you want? How do you see the issue? Is this 16-day lockdown favorable for you? How are you going to cope? No, they sit there in their homes in the US, in France, and all that, and they start imposing on the people. That is dictatorship. They do not come to a consensus to the well-being of the poor people, because there are people that make a lot of ends meet during these days. How are they going to live? If you see that there is a mass flow of people from this zone to the French zone during this period. Why? It has destabilized a lot of people. Children will stop going to school, which is very wrong for me. So I think that if people say they want to liberate a people, they should be able, to work for their favor. They should be able to understand that they are doing the good of these people rather than hurting them. And besides, Mr. Kum, this is a very complicated problem we are having, because we are not having a one-party thing. On the separatist side, we are having like three sets of groups. We have the separatists, we have the unitary people that want unitary but decentralization. We still have the federalist people. So it is difficult for us to know what is right and what is wrong. The most important thing for us now is to seek for the well-being of Cameroonians, of these Anglophones, because it has lasted for more than getting to 5 years now, and nothing has been done. People are dying. As my co-panelist said, they started cutting the hands of children, cutting their ears, intimidating them, telling them that they must accept this lockdown. That is dictatorship, and I think it is very wrong. Okay,
it's very wrong. We're going to take a first reaction from the city mayor of the city of Kumba, Greg Ewane, tell us, make his reaction to this call for a lockdown.
I want to use this opportunity to inform the entire population that we need to stand together. We need to stand together. Two, we need to be courageous. We need to be courageous. We need to keep away fears. We need to keep away fears. We need to share the same vision. We need to share the same vision of development. The vision of development cannot be accompanied with this fear, lack of courage, lack of enthusiasm, lack of, the input that will take us actually to where we want to go to.
Okay, the city mayor for Kumba is calling for unity so that the town can stand and actually overcome whatever is awaiting it. But we are looking at it. She's raising the issue of consensus where power has come from to call for a lockdown and how they came to the decision for the duration. 2 weeks?
Mr. Leo, you see,
she even says it's a dictatorship.
Those who know about this conflict will tell you that there has never been any consensus at any time. They have always found, you remember on this very channel, I once blasted my brothers and sisters for their division. And I told them that if they continue like this, we are not very sure that if independence were granted, they will be able to manage the country. And many of them took after me. So it is a fact that the coordination of the Southern Cameroonians is not united. It's a fact. And there is no way. It's like you asking the political parties in Cameroon to unite. It's just like that. It's not possible. Because there are so many factions.
I'm not talking about division. I'm talking about where power is emanating.
You see, I said earlier that
is it coming from the base?
I said earlier that this is an opportunity for us to know exactly who is who on the ground, because Mr. Sako says that he is a man who has almost all the soldiers. Ayabacho says he has. They say no, you had some in Batibu, they have been finished. You don't have anything. So now this lockdown is going to enable us to know whether truly the people are acting out of fear, which I doubt. I doubt it, because I received some people from Ground Zero, from Kumba and Ekona yesterday.
They are full.
I am telling you that the people who are talking of fear, let us face the facts. What I was told is that the atrocities have been so many that people now have decided not to talk anymore. Their anger is in their chests, and they will only act by giving their support to whom they want. That's what I was told. They are keeping their anger in their chest. They are talking. No, excuse me.
Yes, go on.
You say the people told me that they are keeping their anger in their chests. They are not going to voice out their support, but they only act by supporting whosoever they want to support. So it is not possible for, in a war situation, who will you consult? Do we have representatives on the ground to say you are going to consult X or Y? We are a political party. We can consult. But these people who are in Maryland, Norway and all that, how would they can consult them? Maybe they're generals or they're fighters. But it is not possible for them to go consult the population. That's not possible. So you see, I have seen write-ups from some generals who say they are not in support. I have seen about two.
So you are saying that the generals speak for the people?
As I have seen about two generals who have come out to say they are not in support. Now, I want to see what their hierarchy up there is going to do, because if they are the ones calling the shots, then they will put those generals to order. If they do put them to order, then we shall know that it is Mr. Sako who is calling the shots. If it is Ayabacho, we shall see that it's Ayabacho who is controlling. Let us come to our question of the day. In whose interest? In whose interest? Because lockdown or ghost towns, the question is, in whose interest is this thing? Is it in the interest of Cameroon as a whole? Is it in the interest of the people in Maryland? Is it in the interest of Ground Zero? That is the question of the day. Now, let us look at it objectively. Some people said here that the UN has agencies on the ground and knows everything that is happening. True. But let us remember that we are talking about a UN General Assembly. The UN General Secretariat has the facts. But do the UN member countries that are coming to attend the General Assembly have the facts? That is the problem. And that is why I think that people who want the facts on the ground to come out have a point to make. Because the various countries that are going to come are the people to vote. It is not the General Secretariat. Few of them go to the General Secretariat to go and get facts. Few. So I think that our interest today is to see that this crisis comes to an end. We have tried locally. We have organized a major national dialogue. Where did it go to? Nowhere. Fighting is still continuing. We have all said that the only solution to this thing is a negotiated settlement. If these people say that they are doing what they are doing because they want to force the UN to organize negotiation, I think it is a good thing. Let there be negotiation. We cannot have this war continuing. Let the UN step in and organize internationally mediated negotiations that can bring this thing to an end.
Okay.
So I think that if that is the reason why they are calling this thing to force the UN to come in and organize negotiation, then it is good. Because we have tried all other means, they have not worked. If this one can work, then I think it is fine.
So you think that after this lockdown, the UN
if the point they are making is that the lockdown will enable the UN see that things are not going and that they have to come in to organize negotiation.
Are you certain that the UN will come? Because you say you say if that is going to force the UN to come, they should do it.
I have the conviction that it is very likely to work, because if we were not going to work, why would Nigeria be one party be looking for Nigeria to come in as a supporter? Okay. Nigeria is one of the countries that are going to vote, so the voting counts.
2 weeks is not far from now. Yes.
Thank you.
He says he's from Ground Zero. The people in Ground Zero says they are ready to do this. You are also coming from. You live in Ground Zero. Is that the impression you came with?
This is what I'll differ with the barrister. The United Nations General Assembly could vote on this issue, but the Security Council decides because they are the ones to enforce. The General Assembly would just say what they have to say. We have seen cases where they said several things, but it did not change, because the military solution, it is not in the number of persons that will speak. The Security Council sits and decides. They are the ones to support the people with ammunitions. The arsenals which are required in order to quell down such is coming from the Security Council. It is the decision of the Security Council. For the General Assembly, it is good. Yes, Nigeria holds a vote on certain things, but we are all aware that the body that makes this change is the Security Council. Now, this is the problem. The people on the ground are willing to give their mandates, and they have been giving their mandates since 2016. And every time you impose a lockdown, this is how you become unpopular, especially if you do not limit it within 4 days or so. If we are talking of 16 days lockdown, I want us to look at it also from the point of the average Southern Cameroonians. How much is your disposable income? How much would you save? There are persons on the ground who depend on their daily going out to feed themselves and to cater for their families. And when you give them 2 weeks, how much have they saved? We are talking about a people who have been on the ground for close to 6 years. And every Monday their economy is put in on a no profit or table. And today we are saying that this person should sit in the house for 2 weeks. I am not saying that there is no problem. There is a problem in the country. The crisis we are talking about, every day we are losing militaries, we are losing civilians, children are being killed. Just yesterday, the ear of the child that was chopped off, the fingers, it meant nothing to the person who did it. But all of this, you keep on inflicting pain on your own. That is why the faction that Mark Barata belongs says, it is time for us not to inflict pain on our people, but to pet them, because if we do what is right, to pamper them, it is going to give us a positive result. Once a war becomes unpopular, remember that your people will no longer support you. If America won the war in Vietnam, and it's the same thing which caused them to leave Afghanistan, it's because the war was unpopular to Americans. And so once you keep on inflicting pain on your people, you make yourself unpopular. We are saying that there is a problem. That is why I've always been saying that it is a senseless war. This is the worst thing that has ever happened in Cameroon, where war was declared on fellow Cameroonians. So I cannot support the fact that there is no problem, or rather that we do not have such a problem. But what I am saying is that in as much as the war is a senseless one, we should not add the pain on the people. They are dying daily. Their children are getting uneducated daily. There are children recover and rehabilitate for better tomorrow, Mr. Leo. I received children on Friday who have gone to Nigeria, and the situation is so terrible, they had nothing to do. I see a child who can barely say in English. that child was born, had no opportunity to be educated because there was no school in his locality. They ran into Nigeria and they are back in Cameroon. They rushed into the center. Before I could even come to Douala, a young girl had called me from Mamfe that she has no hope and she wants to go to school.
Yeah, but these are facts that...
So we cannot, yes.
Yeah, but your facts are contradictory to what Senior Barrister said.
Yes,
he said the people said that they want to...
No, the people cannot be asking this. Now, when we see exodus of these people, it tells that they do not accept it. We saw it in 2018, the mass exodus of the people, resulting from the period where we're getting close to the presidential election. That was an evidence. If you talk about indicators of support, you can see it. If you have this person sitting in their homes without complaining, it shows that they are in support. But when you see them exiting their lands, it means that they are not in support of it.
Okay.
So what I am saying is that in order for these guys, whether it be the Sako, the Cho Ayaba, the Mark Barakta, the Eric Tato, and the rest, all they need to do is that they have to have proper coordination, Mr. Leo. Because what the government has been saying for years is that they do not know who to talk with. That is to say that when things like this come up, A is speaking contrarily to what B has to say. Now tell me, if you were the person to talk with my family, you will get confused on who to discuss with. So they have to coordinate their issues properly. Okay. It is first of all a shame to see that they come out on social media, they are arguing and fighting themselves, and they want the people on the ground to believe that we are one. I think that is not good. Okay. They have to go back to their drawing board where they ever thought of this war and redefine it and see who is leading what. I think there they'll have proper coordination to have the support of the people, if at all that's what they are looking for.
Good evening, Mr. Liu. I don't think the ghost town will prove anything right now. No matter which group asks for lockdown, people will respect because they fear for their lives. These separatist fighters are just violating the human rights of the southwest and northwest population. So they become worse than the people they are fighting against. Most of that, they are confused and fighting against each other, manipulating a group of illiterate youths. Okay, God will take control. Kalist Chuka writing there. Good evening to you. Good evening, Mr. Liu and panelists. Thanks for the good selection. God bless you of your panelists and good explanation about the matter. Good evening, sir. We are happy with your program. You are acting as the voice of the voiceless. Those people asking for lockdown are half mad. They have to think before reacting. Well, that is the impact of disorder, lawlessness. We just have to live in the mercy of God. By more grace, by more grace to your able. Difang Ivo is writing from Tico. I see. Okay. On the panel, only as Ashu can say something. Okay. Both sides of the war, the rest are party companies. Mr. Thompson is writing from Mutengene. This one says, "Hi, Mr. Liu. Tell the barrister that Chris Anu and Sako backyard is not respecting the lockdown. It is Ayabacho backyard in total lockdown, and all this is because of fear on the part of the population and their properties." Salif is writing from Bamenda. Mr. Liu, okay, that Mark Barrister does not belong to any faction. He is an activist and that he had been rejected. Okay. Good evening, Mr. Liu. The city mayor of Kumba is moving with military around. Okay. Yeah, for protection. Mr. Liu, if you, Mr. Liu, really love the people of South and Northwest regions, stop inviting Amber supporters. Nobody would dialogue with Amber or Amber supporters. If they like, they should kill me. Okay. Good evening to you. This one says, it is clear that Barrister is pro-Ambazonia. If after this lockdown the UN doesn't intervene, shame on the okay. Good evening, Mr. Liu. The truth is more than 80% of the population is in support of the lockdown. Okay. Yeah, but that is just one message now, Barrister. Good evening, Mr. Liu, and your entire team. You are just no. Good evening, Mr. Liu and the panelists. It's really unfortunate that the poor population has been put at the tight corner. I wish our youth get to understand that both the government and the diaspora are just using them for their individual benefits. This one says, Senior Barrister, we are doing this because of fear of the unknown, not because we want it. God will pay them. So the UN don't come, we should continue to suffer. Please, are you a father? Okay. Hello, Mr. Leo. Good evening to you in the studio, Mr. Leo. We are suffering. I just want to say that we, the unarmed civilians, are really suffering. Amber say lockdown because of fear of the unknown. We decided to stay home for today and observe to see what will happen. The bee came and sailed our shops here in my 4 checkpoint, only here at checkpoint my 4. Okay, Brother Joel is writing from Limbe. Says that when the people suffer, as some so-called Prof say, what stops him from telling Cameroon government Biya to go and negotiate? Okay. The problem with lockdown is was a spontaneous, unlike the previous case where they gave a prior notice for people to prepare. As for Yabacho, I doubt it's okay. Yes, but you are getting the messages, eh?
Yes, you know, I've been listening to them, and the last message, I listened to what Cristiano said. He said he came out a week ago to prepare people so that they could understand that they need to go in for a lockdown, that he was not joking. And he claimed that he did not take that decision, or Sarko did not single-handedly take the decision. It was a conclave that sat and took that decision. The question I would have loved to ask him, just that I listened by the voice, was that conclave, how many persons from Ground Zero were involved in it? How many parents did you ask their opinion about the situation in which they are going through to take that kind of decision? Is it not dictatorship to impose on a people who are already suffering to stay at home for 2 weeks? It is too much. It's already too much. You see, when we talk about some issues here, people might not willingly understand. Nobody is for the fact that a war was declared. And nobody is for the fact that a situation which was supposed to be resolved amicably from the very beginning was handled badly by the government of Cameroon. It has already come to that. We are now in the war. Who are those that you people picked arms for? Was it not for the people? You picked those arms because you said you wanted to protect your own people. Now that the fingers of little children who know nothing are being chopped off, their ears are cut off, when even the ghost town had not yet started, what do you want us to say? You know, a lot of people will say there is, in wartime, anything can happen. But I'm certain that those children were supposed to be protected by those so-called protectors or liberators, instead of chopping their ears off as a warning. That is wrong. That is not the way to go about it. That proves that they have lost their strategy. They do not even know exactly what they are out for. They have the power of the barrel. Guns are in their hands. They have the power. And so they have tested of this, and they realize that people respect those guns more than their voice. People respect their violence more than their love. But I think that was a wrong way, because if you showed the people love, people would not be running away from those same regions into the French regions. Some of them would prefer to stay there. Some of them would not begin to go out. Today we tag people blacklegs and enablers and all that. Why? Because most of them have rejected the strategy that is being used. And Some of them have even gone to that far to begin to expose where some of those boys are hiding. That is to show you that these same people who accepted to come out on the 1st, that was the 22nd of September 2017, and March round, these same people who came out did not come out for this. They never negotiated for this. And so if you have to make them feel like, okay, we are with you people, I think it is necessary to not inflict pain on them. That's where my point is. Some people think that you are supposed to come and sit here, then you say everything that is good concerning what they are doing. They are out there doing things that should not be supported. We just know that yesterday a young girl was killed in a bus which had nothing to do with Ghost Town. That bus was shot for what when Ghost Town was to start today?
Okay. Good evening, Mr. Liu. It's Sharon talking from Mendankwe. I really want to go to school this year. I have been out for 4 years now without going to school, and I was very happy that I will go to school this year, but unfortunately we are already having lockdown still at the beginning of the academic year. Where are we going to? Okay. Mr. Liu, we are happy for the lockdown because the way the military collect money from the civilians is not good. Okay. Yeah. Hello, Mr. Liu. We are scared. Oh, that's why we are staying at home. Barrister, those you spoke to, they are only ones in support. Okay. Good evening, Mr. Liu. Please, Mr. Liu, the city council workers should set an example by working on the lockdown for others to follow. Okay. Good evening to you in the studio. The lockdown really doesn't help the Northwest and Southwest population. With illiterates lead us when we gain the so-called independence. Terence writing, okay. Good evening, Mr. Liu. The lockdown is not 16 days. Every Friday and Sunday is not Ghost Town, okay. You work with the IG. Good evening. We are not complaining, okay. Samuel from Kumba says they're not complaining. Good evening, Mr. Liu. Is Dr. Ayaba in control? Mr. Liu, I differ with the barrister. The people will not go out, not because Sako controls, but for fear of the unknown. Okay? Elvis, good evening to you. Good evening to everyone. I think one of you said something. I have to react on the government knows who to talk with. Okay? Good evening, Mr. Liu. The majority are not in support of the lockdown. The people from the Northwest and Southwest regions don't respect the Ghost Town because they are in support, but because they are afraid of their lives. Let Barrister send his child down there. Okay? Good evening, panel. I wish to say that civilians will never tell you they are in support of the struggle. I work in a certain park, and honestly, these people are in support, okay? Good evening, Mr. Liu. I'm called Dr. Phone in Kumba. This lockdown is a normal thing to us, okay? Good evening, Mr. Liu. I'm really enjoying the program here. There is, okay. We are going to Boya to get the pulse of how things look like in Boya.
Following the call by leaders of armed separatists for a 3 weeks lockdown in Anglophone regions of Cameroon, this is the atmosphere in Boya this Wednesday, September 15, 2021. In the early hours of the morning at about 10:30 a.m., most business premises in different neighborhoods like Sampit, Bakri Town, Great Sopo, and right up to Clerk's Quarters could be spotted closed, while many are skeptical how the day will look like. Talking off camera, most denizens of Boya have frowned against the call for a 15 days imposed lockdown by separatists that is expected to span from this Wednesday, September 15, 2021 to the 2nd of October 2021. Most business premises remain closed for the rest of the day. Few taxis were spotted plying the route to transport passengers from one destination to the other. Contrary to the atmosphere on the street, it was a lively atmosphere in most schools as pupils and students are present in their respective school campuses. While many inhabitants of Boya are skeptical if the imposed lockdown will strive, many have decided to stay indoors to observe and see how the next few days ahead will look like.
Welcome back. You're watching Prime on My Media Prime. Yes, we are looking at the in whose interest. Yes.
Yeah, Mr. Kum, when you look at what's happening, you will not deny that it's for the interest of the both parties. Okay, I say for the interest of the both parties, because when we see the way the government reacts, it means that they are trying to prove a point. They are trying to gain credibility. They are trying to show to the world that they are winning the war fatly, as I say. Now, looking at the reaction of the separatist fighters, they too are trying to gain credibility in the eyes of the general public, saying that they haven't abandoned the fight. Nothing has become normal in Boya and in Bamenda. So I think that it is because it is a problem of greediness. The two parties are very greedy. Because Mr. Kum, we blame President Biya of being the cause of this problem. Biya inherited this problem right from Aijo. This is a problem that has started a long time ago. It started when the federalist government was changed to a republic and the constitution was being changed. That is when the Anglophone problems came to existence. It is not today. If we try to look at this, it is very, very deep. Mr. Kum, it is something that is very, very deep. We saw in 2016 when the Archbishop of Bamenda wrote to Biya telling him about the problems of Cameroon. So today we cannot throw the blame on Mr. Biya because he inherited from this problem a long time ago. And now the problem came to outburst in 2016 because of the teachers, the lawyers and the other people had to march because of they were being abused. We do not refuse that there is not an Anglophone problem. There is an Anglophone problem. But the way the things are going is no longer the same. Mr. Kum, when this problem started, I believe that all of us on this platform were together with these people. We wanted a change in the Northwest and Southwest region. But today, you will not agree that more than 80% do no longer want this because it has gone too much. People are suffering and they are still suffering. Okay, in the beginning we all wanted the separatist fighters, we all wanted the liberation and all what they preached to us, but today we have understood that they are not fighting for us. You cannot keep going where children are going to school. You are the first person to kill children. You cut their hands, you intimidate them from not going to school. I would have believed that if they announced their 16-day lockdown, for me it is 16, because you cannot tell me Friday, Saturday and Sunday. It's a weekend, it's a public holiday, and no activity can really go on those days. So I think that those that are calling for lockdown, we have Dr. Sako, we have Chris Anu. They should be able to send food. They would have sent food to these people. They would have sent them food to keep them in their homes. They would have given them money. We are asking you to stay home. We are going to care for you. They are in US. They are there enjoying themselves, but these people are suffering. How are they going to feed? How are people that are going for their businesses going to feed their children, feed their families? That we read some messages, Mr. Kum, you read messages, and you will agree that more than 80% of those messages were not in accord with the lockdown. The Anglophones are tired. It is a manipulation, okay? To me, I believe it's a manipulation. They are manipulating the public, the general public, the international bodies to come and work for their own interests. Because it is not for the interest of the Anglophones, Mr. Kum. It is not for our interest. Because if you're fighting for me, you will give me food. You will protect me. Besides, if they do not want the La République schools, system of school or anything, they would have created their own schools, bell schools, and would have said, wow, you're fighting for us. Bring teachers to educate people rather than destroying everything. I think that's the right thing to do. So I am with those people that say no lockdown and we are tired. And I believe that it is the time for the population to rise up and say enough is enough. Okay, Mr. Kum, I heard the city mayor of Boya, he was saying we should try to keep fear and all that. He can say that loudly because he's been protected by military. But me, someone that I have nobody, I'll be afraid. So they will try to intimidate these people. They have started their intimidations, okay, by cutting the arms of people and doing that. And they will respect it and they will stay home. And now they'll go to the UN and say, okay, you see, there is ghost town. Meanwhile, it is not the will of the people, but it is intimidation. And I think that it is very wrong. Both parties should come to a consensus. They should stop putting the general public or the poor population to suffer for what they want, because they are not fighting for us. They are fighting for their greediness and personal interests.
Okay. Good evening, Mr. Leo. I don't think the UN can help us in this, because I know they are aware of this crisis and its effects since 2016. I think just 40% are in support of the lockdown. James is writing from the United States of America. Good evening to you, James. Good evening, Sam. Call January in Bermuda. Okay. Good evening to you, January. It's even difficult to read the messages. They are just coming, and yes. But now, how do we survive within these 2 weeks, Senior Barrister? How do you survive?
Well,
2 weeks, especially for people who are living hand to mouth.
Yes. Before I come to your question, I want to clear the air, because I see some people saying this man is supporting Amber. Look, I'm a politician. I'm a national politician. I think in the interest of all the militants of Reform Party. I want to remind you that this war affects the entire nation and beyond even. We have refugees in Nigeria because of this war. So please, I am talking in the general interest of Cameroonians. What does the interest of Cameroonians command? That is what should continue, or it should come to an end. Now, let us take the position of the government. They are going to the UN, like Nadieh said. They have written to UN to say things have come back to normalcy. There's no need for negotiation. Is that in the interest of Cameroonians? No, it is not, because that means that the war will continue. It means that the war will continue. The people suffering will continue. Yeah, but I am saying that our interest, the interest of the Cameroonians today, is that that war should be brought to an end. Yeah, and for that war to be brought to an end, it is not a matter of Cameroonians sitting together. It is not. We have seen that all the efforts, local efforts here, for us to sit together, have yielded no dividend. My friend here said the government used to say, who are we going to dialogue with? They know who to dialogue with. They know what the trouble is. They don't want to dialogue. That is the real truth. I will not be afraid to tell them CPDM government does not want to dialogue. They should dialogue and bring this thing to an end. Yeah, but and I will say it again, in the interest of all Cameroonians who want this war to come to an end, and who know that the only way for the war to come to an end is for us to sit on the table. If that is what is necessary to bring the government to the table, I will say, sir, press the button, let them come to the table. Okay, people should sit at home for 2 weeks. What is that? What is 2 weeks? What is 2 weeks? Yeah, but how do they cope? What is 2 weeks? How do they cope? Let me tell you, I was watching Ambazonian Freedom Television last week, because I want to defend. Yes, it's on air. It's free to air, please. If you don't know, it's free to air. I was watching it last week, and they were talking about this lockdown, and the microphone was open. Look, there were calls. There were about 10 calls from Limbe, about 4 from Kumba. It was Chris Anu who was on air. There were so many calls from the northwest, from Mezam and Bui. Yeah, but senior now the people who called from Ground Zero said they were preparing, they were stockpiling their food. I'm surprised to hear some people saying now that the lockdown took them on our waist. It's raw. It's a bunch of lies. I am telling you, it's a bunch of lies. They were. I am telling you, I watched the program, sir.
TV station.
No, excuse me, Senior Barrister.
Whether the TV station is legal or not, it depends on the laws of the place where the TV station is created. I don't even know which country that thing is, but it is on the satellite. It's free to air. Tune your TV station, your TV set, and you receive it. I watched the program. I am telling you, these guys opened their mic, and people called from Ground Zero and said they were stockpiling food. Yeah, they are people. But Senior Barrister, does it matter whose person it is? I listen to people who call from Ghana to say we are stockpiling.
What about
so
the
I am
poor
saying
population?
That
what about the poor
but
population?
You live in my 16 within this 1 week, like he's saying. Are the people really?
This is what I have to say. We cannot deny the war is something we do not like. The war, on the other hand, is becoming unpopular. This is what I have so many, and this is what I want most people to know. Once a war becomes unpopular, then you are heading nowhere. I have given several examples. Let me tell you, when Lobsang Sangay of Tibet was elected as the leader of Tibet who took over Dalai Lama, he was on exile in the United States. And the people supported because of the ideas on the ground. This is not the first case. I just want to talk a little on the aspect of the UN, Mr. Leo. This is what I want most people to know. If you look at the situation on the ground, let me go back to Khalifa Haftar in Libya. The United Nations has been speaking. There is what is known in Libya as the UN-backed government. It therefore means the decision the United Nations has on the ground has not changed from the ground, because the actors on the ground do not support the idea of the UN. It is the same situation with the UN and Tibet. China is having so much grip on Tibet to the extent where Dalai Lama was restricted from traveling to meet Desmond Tutu of South Africa. I just want Barrister Ashu to get some of these things to see where we are. I am not saying that the war is good. In fact, I have been saying this on different platforms. It is time for Cameroonians to call off this senseless war. It is not helping us in any way. Whosoever declared the war should know that the war is not helping us. So we are not talking about how the war, some people do love it or not. Nobody loves war because people died out of war. So what we need to know is that this lockdown, which has been called, for the fact that it is poorly coordinated, it is obvious that the persons on the ground will not want to support it. But my point is that this is not time for us to get into a certain period where the economy of the said area is first of all on its knees, and we are instituting a lockdown period for 2 weeks. We have other measures we have put in place. Yes, we all know that the traditional Monday ghost towns is highly respected. And even when the Minister of Territorial Administration said the war has ended, we also saw that the war did not end. So if you talk about Nigeria supporting Cameroon to think that the UN is going to say something contrarily to what is on the ground, the truth in the matter is that nothing is going to change. In fact, one of the separatist leader, Mark Barata, says the UN knows what is happening on the ground. According to him, we should not also undermine him. Some people, based on the messages you have received, Mr. Leo says, Mark Barata is just an activist, he is not in any of the faction. But what I want these guys to know is that Mark Barata is still widely being celebrated amongst the separatists. And he says that this UN of a thing, or which they call this the Guterres lockdown, the United Nations does not give people independence. I just want to say this. This is what Barrister Ashu need to know. The United Nations does not give people independence. If the situation on the ground has not actually proven to a point where the people who sit to look at what needs to happen, they cannot have independence. If we go to Southern Sudan, the Southern Sudanese did not get their independence from the United Nations. Once a big country such as France, America, Italy, Spain, and the rest, once they acknowledge your government in place, then you can start having some magnitude of support. So I would rather say that as a strategy, they should lobby more to have most of these guys on their side. But if we want to use the strategy we are currently using, it has yielded us no fruit. Let me tell Barrister Ashu something. For the fact that the UN would support certain idea does not mean the UN is the one who gives it, because there are particular countries, and once these countries are not behind you, the Palestinian Liberation Movement succeeded. The election that took place in Tibet, where these persons were elected, the one that happened in Southern Sudan, the one that happened where Khalifa Haftar could be called by Angela Merkel in Germany to discuss with, it is because once there are particular countries who support your actions on the ground, the United Nations
Security Council will send forces to put certain order. But once you are not with them, it is not going to happen. Okay. So they need to get more lobbying teams. Okay. We have to lobby more in order to get the support of these people. Without that, nothing will change.
I'm Muhammad, writing from California. Only the people who started the problem can end this. Ghost towns have just brought suffering to the population and massive movements out of the regions. This is just bringing more suffering. Good evening to you, Muhammad. Difficult to read. Hi, Leo. If these people who call themselves leaders want to be respected, they should come together and look for a better strategy. I'm trying to imagine the level of illiteracy in the next coming years. You tell these people to stay home for 15 days. Who feeds them? If you want the UN to take you seriously, stop killing and intimidating the population. Youths of the Northwest and Southwest, please be wise. These guys abroad are deceiving you. They are living good life abroad. Please be wise, okay? Can you even allow me read the messages? Uncle Leo, please stop Barrister from killing us with these words. As no. I won't read. Okay, yeah. Good evening, Mr. Leo. In every crisis, there are always excesses, so as is not different. Okay, so we are leaving the excesses. Good evening, Mr. Leo. Barrister Ashu is the only truth speaker on the platform. Okay. Good evening, Mr. Leo. Thanks for being the voice of the voiceless. Sako, Chris Anu, and the rest are in Europe with their families. Reason why they can declare lockdowns for even a year since it doesn't affect them. They are enjoying their lives and their children going to school. Barrister Ashu is in Douala with his family and preaching lockdown on ground zero. Chris Anu sent his family to Yaoundé. The heart of man is not good. They should know that the pop is tired and that they will rise against them just very soon. Okay, we are talking about the interest of this lockdown, and I asked Senior Barrister about who feeds these people for 2 weeks.
That's the question I asked myself, Mr. Leo. Who is going to be responsible? I heard Barrister saying that they were not taken by surprise. Mm-hmm. I will remind Barrister that I was called yesterday and asked if it is true that there's going to be a lockdown right from Bamenda. And I said, according to what I am seeing, because there is a poster that is going around on social media, I said, according to the social media, it's starting today. And so, if there are people who watch what I say, Barrister call it Ambazonia TV.
5 of them.
5 TV.
5 channels, yes. There are 5.
Okay.
I don't know.
Yes, there are 5.
I do not know all those, but there are people, if there are people who watch them, it's not everybody will have access to.
Free to air.
And the issue is that we cannot measure the amount or number of persons who are watching or who supported the so-called ghost town based on the people who were watching the TV. And the information assimilation, did they receive it like a surprise, or did they actually accept it? Was it imposed on them, or was it something that they okay, after they listened to it, they gave feedback and said, okay, we accept it or we do not? Did they come with that? No.
There was no Vox Pop.
There was nothing like Vox Pop to find out whether the people wanted it or not. Because if the TV is doing that, the TV should also go to the community and find out from the people, are they in support? It is true that Barrister said some people called. The fact that 10, 15 people called or 100 people called does not mean that the whole of Northwest and Southwest called. And if that is the number, I think that number is not enough to qualify a ghost town that should be imposed. And sincerely speaking, these individuals, whether it's a lockdown, it should be imposed. And I think that they do not have enough, let me use the word food, to be able to support this particular lockdown that they have imposed. Because Mr. Leo, there are some strategy when you are implementing, there should be a follow-up. And there should be a kind of means to take care of the people. This is a strategy which they thought might be they will use in order to make themselves known at the UN at the detriment of the people who are on the ground. Yeah, and they do not keep food.
Another question many persons are asking is, the target is the United Nations. Why not mobilize all the Anglophones who are in Europe and to stage a protest at the United Nations?
I listened, I followed a write-up, I don't know, that Ayabacho wrote, asking that same question, that why not instead rally all those who are in the diaspora to gather in front of the UN, and there they present their case instead of afflicting pains on those who are on the ground. The people will not be fed. That is our point. They will not be given food in no occasion. There is no money that has been, in fact, do they even have a bank account that the people control, or which they could use to say, okay, we are going to take care of even some persons? What about those who are even in Nigeria as refugees? Some person says that we have refugees in Nigeria. Do they take care of the refugees? They do not. They do not. They are thinking on how to get money for themselves. A lot of persons are busy supporting this thing blindly, not because it is working for them, but because they do not actually know who are those who are benefiting behind this thing. Those who are benefiting behind these things are not the people on the ground. They are those people sitting over there. They are the ones benefiting.
Good evening, Mr. Liu, and what a wonderful topic. This lockdown is very unrealistic, especially at this point in time. The Mondays goes down for our suffering masses. It is fear that has made some of our people to stay indoors, not that they are respecting the amateur cabal in Maryland. A barrister should understand that the United Nations can never show up because of the nonsense lockdown. Children need to go to school, even in war. Sako and Anu should know that school boycott and unrealistic lockdown is no longer a strategy. If they call for lockdown on the 11th of February or 20th of May, I will support them. Prince Zikum is writing from Sweden. Okay, good evening to you, Prince Zikum. You've indicated for me to read your message. I've done so. Somebody is just sending me a message of somebody who has been killed somewhere in Bamenda this evening. You're sending it with a picture. Yes. Definitely very difficult to read messages. Good evening, Mr. Akum. It's so sad when I hear some of your panelists speak. How can this lockdown be justified? This war is not a court where we can use logic to make a point. 60% of Cameroonians need to go out every day before they can eat. And yet somebody sits and talk of stocking up for 2 weeks. Let him put aside his blind emotions and bitterness for the country. Okay? Terry is writing from Sandpit, that is in Boya. Good evening, Mr. Liu. I'm Romeo from Douala. The lady with red nailed it all. She just spoke every truth about this crisis. Good evening, Mr. Liu. Okay. Talking about Akwen. Good evening, Mr. Liu. The truth is that no sweet. Okay. Don't know what you mean by that.
No sweet.
Good evening to all. Mr. Liu asks, Madam, can the government allow food and teachers to come in and teach us, ask the SDF? And Peter writing from the... Good evening, Mr. Liu. I agree with Barrister Ashu. Okay, Desiree Eno is writing from Bamenda. Good evening to you, Desiree Eno. Okay. Another person is sending me the picture of someone who has been killed around Basic Quarter in Bamenda. I don't know where Basic Quarter is. Oh, difficult to read it. Good evening, Mr. Liu. I'm talking from Bamenda. Okay. Good evening to everyone. Yes, Nadieh, we're talking about the possibility for persons to feed themselves and where this protest should be staged.
Yes, Mr. Kum, you know, there are a lot of people in the north. Very, very difficult for them to feed themselves and their families. I would have seen people where the commanditors of this war would have sent a lot of money and food, because I heard someone saying that, will the government of Cameroon allow teachers to teach children? If you want to be responsible, or you say you are the commander of something, you should be able to present before they refuse. You should come with teachers. We see how the military are teaching children. We saw how the military are building schools in Bamenda. And these are the same Ambazonians that go and destroy those schools. Meaning you do not love these people. If you destroy them, build yours. That is what I'm asking. So these people are living from hand to mouth. They won't be able to feed themselves and their families. And we have different versions. We have the Sako, we have Chris Anu, we have Ayabacho, who denies that Ayuk Tabe and General Zama. Those are the people that are against this thing. And I heard my co-panelist, Barrister, telling us that the government knows who to dialogue with. To me, it's very wrong. Because if they decide to choose one person that will dialogue with this person, another person will come out and say, okay, you didn't talk with me, I will sabotage what you just did. That is why I say we need to come together, because the Anglophones themselves, they are not serious. Because if we were serious from the beginning, all these things wouldn't have been happening. In the beginning of this problem, I believe that most of us who were in accord, we have been suffering, we have been marginalized. Our system of education was no longer the same. Our system of justice had been marginalized. Yes, we all accept that because there is an Anglophone problem. But the way the things are going is no longer what we wanted. Our children are not being schooled. It is very important. You cry about a system of education that is being marginalized, yet you refuse children from not going to school. You are the first person to deny law to take place. Why? You are the first person to implement dictatorship. Meanwhile, you call Cameroon a dictatorship state. You're speaking something else and you react the opposite, which is very wrong. We are tired of this problem, Mr. Kum. Women should come out in their numbers and say enough is enough. Because it is only the population that can rise up and say enough is enough. Most of these people will go home and stay, not because they really accept the lockdown, but because they are scared. We saw, you just read that there are pictures of people that are being killed. There are pictures of people that hands are being cut down. You are in the US, you are enjoying your life. I am in Cameroon. You should have come down to Bamenda. You say, okay, me and my children, we are staying there, we are not going to school. Because we say you preach by example. That is what we want to see. Okay? They are fighting for themselves. They cannot give food to these people. And I heard you, my co-panelists, telling us that they weren't taken unaware. To me, they were taken unaware. Okay? If the fact that some few people called, the fact that they have their friends that are the Ambazonians or the military or the generals that are aware of what is happening, the poor population, they do not know. A woman who gets up in the morning and goes to her marketplace does not know anything. So the communication was not really at the peak. So you will not tell me that because you have decided to go on a lockdown, I too should accept that. No, that is dictatorship. You should consult everybody. You should consult the poor population. Is this what you want? Is this how you want things to move? Are you in accord of the way we are doing things? If they accept, we do that. I am from Bamenda. I do not accept that, Mr. Kum. I have my family members that are no longer going to school. You go there, there is a mass rate of illiteracy. Children are being impregnated on daily basis. We saw a young girl and her sister who got impregnated by the same person, as the one man. You come here to Douala, you see how girls are prostituting. Is this the way forward? Is this what we really wish for? No. This problem has to come to an end. Okay. And Anglophones have to take the bulls by the horn and decide on their fate. Okay.
Stop the calls. How many people even have TV sets in the villages where 60% of our population live? How can we quantify 10 callers to thousands of people? 90% of Cameroonians people live hand to mouth. People who support this have a means to take care of themselves and have never gone through suffering. The so-called leaders have missed. The so-called leaders have missed their way. Peter is writing from Istanbul. Now we are going to take a reaction to this call for a lockdown from the mayor of Akuhmbom Council.
I have come out today, the 15th day of September 2021, because of this worrisome issue of Ghost Town, especially the one that has purportedly begun today. We all are citizens of Kumba, and we got the communications that were made the audio messages that were circulated around, and we all read the content of it or listened to the content of it. And I want to say that this declaration was made to affect Kumba, that is Meme and Fako. But from experience, Fako, everything about Fako is functioning normally. But in Meme, people have decided to stay at home. People don't go to the markets, don't go to their offices. And I want to say that we have completely misunderstood the whole idea, of it. And I want to say that we have made a mistake. We have made a mistake in staying in our houses today because we did not understand, the communication that was done. It is meant for interurban movement. That is the declaration they made. If we cannot understand even the one that they do, then we decide to add our own meaning to what they have said. I think that it means we are going to hate our own selves, than other persons hating us. So this idea of us staying in the house, especially today, is a very wrong one, having regards to the content of the audio message that we all got. So I want to plead with the population that we should all come out tomorrow. Let us all come out tomorrow and, carry out our normal activities. We will leave the rest of it to the fate, because this whole matter has to do with two persons who, are somehow strong. And at the end of the day, it is how we for pidgin, they talk, say, na how we pack, na it matter. So we just have to know how to pack. It is true. But at the same time, we must know that everything we do as far as this thing is concerned has an effect on our own individual lives. And I think that the most we can do first is to understand communication. If we are going to stay at home, there should be enough reason for us staying at home. But for this one, I want to say that there is no tangible reason for us to stay at home, because even the person who has caused this audio does not wish that we stay at home.
Okay, that was the Lord Mayor of the Kumbawan Council, Senior Barrister. We are looking at the situation. Conflicting messages are coming from the ground there, from the northwest and southwest regions. Will this actually, let's look at the effects of this. Many persons today, if you were in a critical situation, medical situation, are there dispositions also taken to permit that people are attended to by medical officers?
Yeah, thank you. I want to state here that, many people just run their mouths and talk nonsense about Senior Barrister Ashu. Look, I want to inform you that I have my children living in Limbe. My children living in Limbe permanently. Living in Boya permanently. Going to UB, attending UB. I have my family in every town in Southwest.
They go to school now?
Well, there is lockdown. They are also subject to the lockdown.
Okay, without the lockdown,
they are subject. Yes, why not? Why not? I am living on. I'm living there in Ground Zero. I have my family there. So stop talking as if I am in Douala and I don't know what is happening. My children are there. Right now, I have one in the house who just came from Boya this morning. So don't tell me stories. I know exactly what is happening. I am not a stranger. I have my own children there. It's true. I also have some who are abroad, but the bulk are here. Not living with me, they're living there in Limbe, Boya, Kumba. I don't call strangers, I call my family. So when you are talking those things, please, I am a person who is feeling the heat. I know what is happening. Now you asked the question.
Yeah.
Well, it is quite difficult because you see, we are in a situation that we all just find ourselves inside. Nobody wished for this. Nobody wished for it. It has happened. You see, I keep coming back to the question of the day.
No, you don't want to answer.
No, wait. You see, it's very important. Because that question, you coined it well. In whose interest is all this thing? In whose interest? If, you see, we should look at this thing objectively.
Okay.
Me, I'm a politician. What is my interest? Is it that there should be war in Cameroon and I should be unable to conduct my politics in the entire nation? Or that there should be peace and I have this liberty to go to each town and village like I wish? Today, there is no secret that there is war. I hear my sister here saying that the people should be consulted. You want to carry out democracy in times of war? How is that possible? Consultation is a democratic process. You cannot talk of consultation at war time. It's not possible. So you cannot discuss with a warlord. All of us talking here, if those guys enter with their guns, we shall all go under the table and find some other exit. You see, you cannot discuss democracy during war. It's not possible. So it is, look, we should not forget that those guys up there, they are warlords. They are warlords. And when we start talking that they hide in Maryland, look, they are in Maryland. Are they the ones in the ground zero carrying out the lockdown? If they don't have the support of ground zero, you see, we have to be very careful. If these guys don't have the support of ground zero, then nobody will obey them. But the problem here, we are discussing the interest. In whose interest? When the government says there is no mercy, and you say yes, there's no mercy, then you start complaining that there is lockdown. If there is no mercy, why is the government not overcoming the lockdown? Why? There is a problem, a serious one. There is no normalcy, because if somebody who is not in the government can start and say shut down, and the place is shut, then there is no mercy. That is the reason why we say there must be negotiation. Let us sit on the table, and since we cannot be able to sit on the table locally, the international community should help us. Now, those who say the UN cannot, like I heard somebody here saying the UN does not grant independence, I think you should go back and visit history books. Who granted independence to Cameroon? Who granted independence to Southern Cameroon? Who granted independence to Nigeria and most of African countries? Leave that nonsense. I don't want, look, don't make it to offend history. Most African countries obtained their independence from the United Nations. And let me tell you, there are things I cannot tell you here. The UN has a plan for Cameroon. Don't bother yourself.
Okay.
We are just looking at the UN has a plan. It's just that there are things we cannot reveal. I'm telling you.
So the UN will grant.
They have a plan.
There's an independence plan.
I am not telling you anything. You want to guess that as a business. The UN has a plan for Cameroon.
Okay.
So I am telling you, you can put me a record. The UN has a plan for Cameroon. It's not for nothing the government is going to UN to say there is no mercy, give me time. They have a plan, and the government doesn't want them to carry that thing out. And we are saying that we want peace here. They should sit on the table. Let this thing be ironed out once and for all. We cannot continue living in a war situation. It's almost 5 years.
Yeah,
okay,
yeah, Mr. Leo, let me just
ask about our mothers, because I've had 2 calls of people who are in their situations today.
You asked whether there was medical, the possibility of medical help. My senior brother, no wait, I will answer you. My senior brother in America came here and opened a foundation that brought together doctors who can help. Do you know it was shut down? You know it was shut down. So when I talk, they will say he is supporting X, is supporting. I talk on my senior brother. He opened a foundation here. The doctors were moving from town to town, from village to village, carrying people who were sick to cure, to treat them free of charge.
How related is that to the fact?
What you are asking me how related? It is directly related, because if those type of private initiatives to help the suffering masses who are sick and are in need of Medicare are shut down.
Senior Barrister.
I am not talking of any person bending or destroying. My brother created a foundation to bring doctors and give treatment free of charge. That's what I'm saying.
Senior Barrister, we are going emotional, please. I ask a question. Anytime I do a program, most often I react to persons who are writing to me. I've received calls of persons who are in difficult health situations, and they say, Mr. Kum, can you help me? I'm asking you that was there a possibility, or do you think that there has been some dispositions taken in such cases, and you are narrating me the situation of your brother?
I said my brother created such a foundation, a medical foundation to help people.
You are president of a party, and I'm asking you what these people should say. You are not providing a solution.
No, Mr. Kum.
Yes.
Let us understand something. When they say when there is ghost town, do they close all hospitals? Do they? No. You are in Kumba. Answer the question, because we should be honest to ourselves. Yes. Our hospitals close during the ghost town. If you answer the question,
lockdown means that people cannot move.
Yes,
how do you get to the hospital? How do you get to the hospital?
You will suffer to trek. You can suffer to trek, but you will go to the hospital.
Let me just interject, Barrister, Senior Barrister. This is what we need to know, please. When we say there is lockdown, we are saying that movement of persons and cars have been barred. As such, once you are sick, it means you are left to die on your own, because there will be no car to take you to a hospital or a clinic. Now, this is the point. We are not saying that you cannot put up your strategy to bring your opponent to his knees, so to say. We are simply saying that let your strategies do not inflict pain on your own people, so that once they are behind you, your enemy will understand better. I gave an analogy and I said, history has it very clear. In 2017, we saw the population. Right up to 2018, when things went sour, when our own people became the victim, it was obvious that the war became unpopular. Now, this is the point. The United Nations, like you said, grants independence to some countries. I gave you a logical analogy where I said, if you talk about the United Nations, it is these member countries. If you talk about those who make decisions on what happens on the ground, it is not that General Assembly. The General Assembly is just what we call theories. The practicality of it comes now from a certain body, which is why I am saying that if we want to have the support of the UN to bring this to order, then we need to go through certain countries that will cause us to be recognized. When the Taliban took over, Joe Biden said, I quote, he doesn't think the American government or any friend to America will support the Taliban because the Taliban is not legitimate according to them. That therefore means that if you have a problem and you are suffering within your country, if you are calling for division of your country, you need to have the support of a member of the Security Council. Remember, when America talks of our friends, she is looking at those who have the decision to make. To veto certain things. So once you do not have any of these persons on your side, and this is where we have a deadlock, because when it comes to this, China is not on the side of Southern Cameroonians. That is what we need to know. Russia is not the side on Southern Cameroonians because they want to do what they call balance of power within the global setting. As a result of that, this is where we have this deadlock, which is why I will still go back to Mark Barretta. According to him, who is an activist, who supports, who funds, he says the UN does not give independence. It therefore means that the person whom they are hoping for to come and give this independence is not the person that is going to grant this independence. So what I think they should be doing at this point in time is, we have lobbying group. Let me tell you, I'll still quote you the Taliban, and I'll quote you the Palestinians, and I'll quote you the Southern Sudanese. They lobbied a lot and had America on their side. That is why it could happen. And this is why Tibonash could say, if the government of Cameroon continues with this, it is obvious that they will have to set in. And you saw the reaction from some of the members of the same political party. This is because we know that certain countries have the potentials. They have the potency to impose on the United Nations. They have the certain power to bring about changes which we are crying for. I am not saying that the government of Cameroon is doing something good, because this war is not helping us in any way. We are saying that this war, we have to call it off. And if we cannot have somebody from the outside that is coming to mediate us, then we should sit eyeball to eyeball and do the negotiations. Peter had problem with John, and they sat and they said, okay, this is what we need to do. Because if we waited for Nathan to come and solve the problem, and Nathan did not come, it therefore means we can still solve it. So if we cannot solve this as Cameroonians, if we cannot sit and say, okay, this is the government on the other side, that is why I will buy the idea of, or the ideology of those who say it is time for us to sit again and have a more inclusive dialogue. And the same body we are thinking that they are going to bring us independence. Let me tell you, please, these same persons have made several recommendations where they say there should be inclusive dialogue. It therefore means the persons we are hoping to have their sympathy, they are rather telling us that we need to go and meet the person we are fighting, or that person should come to us so we can sit together and dialogue.
Okay. Good evening, Mr. Liu. Majority are not in support of the lockdown. Okay. Good evening, Mr. Liu. Please tell the person supporting the war that the message of lockdown was sent with threatening information, like they will shoot anything moving on the streets. What has forced the population to respect it? If you go against, they will come after you, burn your business, or even kill you. Okay. Good evening, Mr. Liu. Tell the everybody's writing. Tell Barrister Ashu that the UN system is wiser than he and his Amber. They cannot manipulate the UN too. They have tried several times and it failed. For is writing from Bamenda. Good evening, Mr. Liu. Barrister is the try Cameroon. Oh, your message is not too clear. Maybe you want to say Barrister is a true Cameroonian. I don't know. Okay, Mr. Liu, the Barrister is talking about a TV who will go watching a banger TV. Who does that? A TV that will never say anything good rather than violent insult, blood killings, display of guns, dead bodies. Only things that will make you depressed and sick in your spirit. Barrister is lying. I won't read any message again, please. I won't read any message. Okay, we have just 15 more minutes. Yes. Okay. Okay, you people have not spoken?
Yes.
Yes, but let's look at the effects of the ghost town. Are you sure that after 2 weeks anything is going to change? Or we are going to lose more?
Mr. Liu, is going to be an effect.
Okay.
And the effect is that it's going to push away more Southern Cameroonians from these people. Because let's be a little bit practical. I have a problem with my neighbor. Then, instead of me looking for a way to create an opportunity where my neighbor can sit with me and talk, I get up and tell my children, nobody is going to eat here today. Nobody is going to step out of this house. Everyone must stay inside this house. No food for you. What will happen at the end of the day? Those children will be happy that their father actually starved them? No. Those children will never be happy. So the first effect that I'm seeing is that the people are going to be pushed away. In fact, they will distance themselves.
But they have supporters here.
No, there will always be supporters, even to the end. Never make that mistake. There are people who are going to give their life for this. So, but is that what all Southern Cameroonians are going to do? No. They are not going to do that. Majority of them will distance themselves from these guys. Secondly, they just went further to make the world to realize that they are not capable of handling situations because we have factions. This group is saying we do not want. This one is saying we want. Some people will say it's a strategy on itself in order to show that there is no particular head that you can dialogue with. But that is not true. That's total confusion, and that is proof of disunity. And no house ever stands in disunity. As long as these factions keep on fighting among themselves, we are going nowhere. And so I think that you have succeeded in actually proving to not only the Southern Cameroonians that people are so divided and unwilling to see that the problem is solved, but you have gone ahead to push the people away from you. And the third issue I'm seeing is this. Even if today they get to say, okay, let us have a dialogue. Let us have a negotiation. These people will never be accepted by Southern Cameroonians. Never. I'm saying this on air. They will never be accepted by Southern Cameroonians. It is already clear that the people know from within them that this is not what they bargained for. And some people have hijacked it and they are making their money from behind. Anybody who wants to be angry should be angry. I'm saying it because that's what is happening. Some people are feeding fat while some are dying on daily basis. So we will have effects. But the effects will not work for their good.
Okay.
And it is not going to call, the UN will not budge.
Yeah, there's a question I'm
Nothing.
asking Nadieh. Are we seeing the UN making a declaration after this? Are they going to turn a special eye now on Cameroon because of this lockdown?
Not actually, Mr. Kum, because as you rightly said, that the UN have their spies in Cameroon. They know what's happening. They know everything. I believe that after the lockdown, there will be a lot of changes, okay? Because now the Amazonians are discrediting themselves. Secondly, they are making the war unpopular. Thirdly, there will be a mass. The international bodies will no longer believe them, because at the end of the day, people will see that it is a game of personal interest and not for the common good of all the southern and the southern Cameroonians. And thirdly, too, there is a problem of disunity. They are just trying to prove to the world that the commanditors of this war are not in unity, because we see Sako. We see Chris Anu. We see Ayabacho on the other side. Now they are trying to show to the world that there is not a consensus between the commanditors of the war. They are discrediting themselves. There will be a mass fluctuation of southern Cameroonians to these zones, and now they will create a lot of hatred in the hearts of southern Cameroonians, because one like me, you're destabilizing my life. We have people or parents that have already paid their children's school fees. Now these children will be forced to come to the francophone zones to come and go to school. So there will be a lot of effect, a lot of results that will come out from this thing, and I believe that nothing positive will come out, because the UN will do nothing, Mr. Kum. The UN knows what is happening. And I heard my co-panelists telling me that I said there is stability. I agree with what the Cameroonian government wrote and sent to the United Nations. I said no. There was a process of stability in these zones, because he himself said that his children were going to school. It means there was already stability that was coming to place. Now the Amazonians are just trying to sabotage these things. Okay, because we see how military men are building schools. We see how military men are training children, educating them. Why can these Amazonians to not send their own people to do the same thing, so that we see that they are creditable in our eyes? So, Mr. Kum, this lockdown has just come to show that the commanditors of this world do not love the people. They work for their own interests, because if you cannot ask me what I want, you call a state or you call a country a dictatorship state, and you come and impose on me what I do not want. I cannot eat. People live from hand to mouth. They cannot have food. Okay? Meanwhile, they will secure their own families. They will give food to their own families, to the Amazonians, those that are carrying guns. They will give them money and this. What about the poor mother? What about that poor child that is trying to go back to school? Her school fees has been paid. She'll say, oh, I will waste another year not going to school. So, Mr. Kum, this lockdown has come to show the negative part of those that are commanding this war, Mr. Kum.
Okay. We are certainly going to be ending at this juncture. I won't read any message. Many of you are writing to me saying, why am I not reading the messages? Most of the messages are insultive. I will not read them. Most of them are insultive, especially those of you on social media. They're also very insultive. I think that when, like she says, we can't be against democracy and play very dictatorial. It means that anybody who is not talking your language, you insult them, you do this, you do that. That's why I'm not going to continue reading the messages, because yes, there's a lot of hate speech. You insult and you do that. I won't read the messages. And Senior Barrister, thank you for coming.
Thank you, Mr. Kum. It's always a pleasure answering your invitation. We just wish that this situation comes to an end very fast. Although during the debate I saw that there was some confusion being made between the quest for independence, and the topic which was on negotiations, not independence. See, I think that it is in the interest of all Cameroonians that this war should be brought to an end. And whosoever is standing on the way of peace, standing against peace, I will tell you that, look, I will tell you in the face that you are not working in the interest of the people. And the CPDM government, to me, does not seem to work in the interest of the people, because it does not want negotiation. We want them to sit on the table and this issue negotiated so that peace can return. If that, so long as they're not doing so, I will tell them in their faces that they have outlived their usefulness in this country. Please let them pack their bags and go away.
Okay, thank you too, Professor Mark.
Thank you, Mr. Leo, for the opportunity again, and to Cameroonians who gave their ears to listen to us. And I believe, and I'll say this again, irrespective of the fact that we stand against whatsoever lockdown that has been declared, does not also mean that the Cameroon government should stay quiet concerning a situation that they were supposed to have handled. We think it is time that this crisis comes to an end. It is time to intervene. It is time to negotiate. Let there be a dialogue that will solve this problem once and for all. Not a dialogue where people come on high horses like they did in their monologue the last time, but it should be a dialogue that permits people to present their position and let there be a negotiation that will bring us to an end of this war.
Thank you for coming.
Thank you very much, Mr. Leo. I just wish to say that the war is not helping us. The war is unpopular already in Cameroon, and those who are in charge of calling this war off, those who are in charge of calling for negotiation, should better do so, because the government is becoming unpopular on the other side, and those who are imposing unnecessary lockdown periods are also becoming unpopular. I just want to say that when things like this happen, Mr. Leo, those of us who are on the field to cater for those who have nowhere to go, as I speak to you, there is already population explosion in recover and rehabilitate for better tomorrow, resulting from the fact that this set period which has been given, and those who thought they could even come back, because you see in places like Muyuka, we had some classes, some community schools were about to begin just within the same week. And when this happened, we noticed, especially in Boya, that so many persons are leaving their area. And so when that happens, even in Santa, I receive persons who came from Santa, Mr. Leo, because they don't have a place to study. Like I said, a young girl called me and was crying that she doesn't know where to go to school, and she wants to go to school. She was told that Recover and Rehabilitate gives help to children who do not have somewhere to study, because we provide this learning space for them for free. So when things like this happen, those of us who are on the ground, we bear the burden. The burden is on us, because every day we will receive calls. As we speak, I've received a message from a young man who is saying that he doesn't know what to do. He had prepared his mind to why not be part of the children there. And we are struggling to recover even those who were on the street prior to the war. So when this is happening, it is not helping us in any way. The work is just so too much. So I am begging on those who have the powers to call this senseless war off, so that we can have our lives as we had it prior to 2016.
Thank you for coming, Nadieh.
Thank you very much, Mr. Leo. I'm going to leave people with this word. In as much as we condemn the greedy attitudes of those that are the commanditors of this war, living in the diaspora, we all know that there is an Anglophone problem, okay? I am an advocate that we should go back to respect the terms of the Fuman Conference of 1961. I think that is where we went wrong, okay? Because we all know that there is an Anglophone problem, and that is why we are calling on the government of Cameroon to come back and do what is right, so that we all can come back in peace. Because, Mr. Leo, this war has eaten a lot of people, okay? It has destroyed a lot of life, and it will keep destabilizing, like the lockdown that has been implemented or has been called by Sako and his friends. I think that it is not something very good. And I still say that the government of Cameroon should look for a way to solve this problem.
Okay, we want to thank you all who took time off to watch the program. Also, thank you to those who spent time insulting some of us out here. God bless you and forgive you. And also to the production team, thank you very much. And yes, stay blessed. Bye-bye.